Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Let me know if you can hear me in the back. Are we okay? Okay, great. Awesome. Welcome to the Campus Safety Forum. SGA is so happy to have you. Excuse me as I take my mask down just to talk. But thank you so much for coming. I know a lot of you had busy days, so I really appreciate you being here. So we're going to yield at this time to our panelists so they can introduce themselves, and then we'll project the QR code. It'll be on the screens behind you so you guys can submit your questions. Everybody okay with that? Great. Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much. And we will start over here with Interim Vice President of the Office of Inclusion and Institutional Equity, Patricia Bradley.
All right, great introduction. Thank you.
If you wouldn't say a little bit more, please.
All right. Anthony Skavakis, Associate VP for Student Affairs and Dean of Students.
Good evening, Vernon Hurt, Vice President for Student Affairs.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Joe Herring. I'm the Director of Public Safety and Chief of Police.
I didn't mean to steal your shine like that. I didn't mean to, but thank you so much. So we're good for right now. Olivier, question, are we good on the, great. So the QR code should be up momentarily. Give me like 30 seconds. Yay. Y'all are so ridiculous. Please, thank you. Can we make it a little bit bigger? Yay! Oh, perfect. Okay, that's exactly what I was waiting for. But yes, if you guys scan the back, we will be good to receive your questions, and we'll get right into it. Thank you so much. Okay, so our wonderful Director of Communications for the Student Government Association, Iman Willis, will come forward and read off questions. Please remain as kind and respectful to one another as possible. We want to start with that just so this conversation can be a dialogue that is constructive and we can all leave here feeling like we've come to a resolution and calmed any anxieties. Is that okay? Thank you so much. So yes, Iman, you can come up when you feel we've received questions. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
So the first question is, how are we addressing safety and harm reduction without the implementation of more TU police officers?
I'm sorry.
How are we addressing safety and harm reduction without the implementation of more TU police officers?
I can start. Thank you for the question. I think when we think about kind of the safety of campus, you really want to have a multi-pronged approach. I mean, the reality is public safety is an important element of that, but we want to ensure when you're thinking about the impact, harm reduction, we want to make sure that we're continuing to invest in appropriate support services. So for example, in the kind of midst of this wanting to make sure that we're investing in mental health resources for students, that we're investing in additional education around information sharing, around, in this case, unsanctioned events, and making sure that university leadership is aware of things as they're being planned or they're floating within the community. And so that's a part of it. But I think we need to continue to have a multi-pronged approach that includes continuing to have our partners who are providing safety to campus through the TUPD on public safety, but also making sure that we're bringing up support services that help when it comes to harm reduction and the impact of significant incidences like we saw this past weekend.
Our next question really just has to do with why we're all here today. So if we could have maybe a summary of the events that took place from the TUPD side this past weekend.
So this past weekend, we had a unsanctioned event that occurred up at Freedom Square. We had individuals gather there starting around 11:15 or so. And the event was peaceful at first. The crowd quickly grew to a larger size, and then other activities began to occur at the event. We were in touch with the Baltimore County Police Department earlier as the crowd was growing, and then the incident involving the shooting occurred, which prompted the response from Baltimore County TUPD and the medics. The incident's still an active, ongoing investigation. Baltimore County is the lead investigative agency in that. We're cooperating with them and working with them in concert, but I really can't talk more about the event and the investigation and what's going on with that at this time.
Thank you so much. The next question, okay, I can do it with the mask, sorry. So the next question was, WJZ reports that a stand down order was given by university leadership to TUPD. Is that true?
Not true. The article reported that the order was given by both the president and myself, and I can absolutely categorically assure you that neither of us gave that order, nor will we ever give that order as we address unlawful activity on the campus.
The next question that we have, thank you so much for that, Chief Herring. The next question that we have is, why isn't President Schatzel here with us today?
I can address that. And so because this was an information session, it was really important for the key campus leaders who have oversight, have responsibility for various aspects of the campus community. And so these are the representatives that have responsibility, whether it's for student life, whether it's for campus safety, to be able to respond to the questions. Yeah. These are the most appropriate senior leaders of campus that have direct responsibility.
If you do have follow-up questions, thank you so much. We appreciate your passion. Just please utilize the link just because we want to make sure the flow of questions makes sense for everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's it. And the next question that we had was, you mentioned talking about being aware as the group was growing this past weekend. So a lot of students want to know and families want to know how a group of that size grew to that level without prior intervention.
That's a good question, and thank you for asking it. So as many of you are aware, and has been reported, there was a similar event that occurred a couple days prior. It was a much smaller crowd, earlier period of time, different types of activities, but it was similar. We monitored that. It was peaceful. The crowd assembled. The crowd enjoyed some music, and they disassembled. We interacted with Dr. Hertz's team and did some outreach to students and student groups to provide guidance on how to request to hold an event and how it could become a sanctioned event. And then on Saturday morning, Friday into Saturday morning, this event again started to assemble. So my officers were monitoring the event. It quickly grew to a size that we needed to address or start to address it. And before that could happen, it deteriorated into the criminal act that we all had to respond to. So again, I can't what we're doing and how we're doing that because it's an open criminal investigation with the county and an administrative investigation with public safety, but we're working towards that. And we will be sharing that information as it becomes available and it's appropriate to share it.
The next question is, what new actions are being taken in order to ensure that this was just an isolated event?
So the police department has worked with senior leadership to develop a different reaction plan if students and outside members of the community start to assemble in an unsanctioned manner. And that would involve, again, interaction with Dr. Hertz's team, involvement with Baltimore County, and earlier intervention to disperse the event and ensure that we don't wind up back in a similar situation at some date in the future.
Why was the suspended officer put on paid leave rather than unpaid leave?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Why was the suspended police officer put on paid leave rather than unpaid leave?
So officers currently under the current Maryland law, police officers, administrative investigations into their actions need to be conformed with a law that's commonly, it's a public safety article, it's commonly referred to as the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights. And the only way that I am able to lawfully suspend an officer without pay is if they are charged with a felony right now. Now that law is changing later next year, but it hasn't changed yet. So the only option to me at this time, if I chose to suspend the officer, it would be to suspend their police powers with pay and then move forward with the administrative investigation. And that is in fact what we chose to do.
Sorry. Will upcoming events have different and/or higher safety standards?
So I'll say with the outdoor event procedures. So we have new outdoor event procedures that actually went into effect this summer. And we actually had a great event that took place this weekend that was in compliance with the outdoor event procedures. It's really important to me, really important to the leadership that we don't collapse the types of events, the unsanctioned event that took place Saturday night with sanctioned events that's hosted by our student organizations that are within policy, within procedure. They've taken the appropriate steps. So we'll continue to follow those procedures. We'll continue to support student organizations in hosting sanctioned events. We'll continue to take a look at the procedures and the policies and make those enhancements as we continue to move forward and assess how those events take place.
This question says they want to know, why was the police officer suspended?
So again, another good question. Suspension of a police officer's powers is a tool that sometimes departments use to allow a cooling down period when there's an event that occurred and there's serious questions about ongoing operational type issues involving that officer. So in this case, I consulted with the Office of Human Resources, and after discussion, we decided that it was the best option for the campus to suspend the officer's police powers, which means that I had to remove them from any functions out on the street as a uniformed police officer. So that's why we did it in this case.
How do you think the increase of officers on campus has impacted the culture of the growing diverse Towson population?
I think that for the most part, all of us have checked out social media and seen all of the comments on social media and the trolls and the what I like to call keyboard gangsters. And I know that there is a narrative that's out there that because of the initiatives around diversity, that violence has come to campus. And we reject that. And so I don't think any of our students of color, I don't think they have to validate their presence here. You belong here. And so what I would challenge is for our allies now to stand up and take an anti-racist position and say, no, not at TU. You belong here. This was an isolated incident. Don't attach it to race.
Moving forward, what is going to be the response pertaining to unsanctioned events when it comes to campus safety precautions?
So I think I talked about this briefly with an earlier question. We have reviewed our protocols and our plans for dealing with unsanctioned events on campus, and we're going to take a more assertive stance with identifying those events when they occur and start to form and interaction with Dr. Hurt's office, as well as other student leaders and the group, and take much earlier steps to attempt to disperse the event and move it to an appropriate location or off campus.
Since the suspension was simply a cool down, were the officer's actions satisfactory with the police department? You're fine. Since the suspension was simply a cool down, were the officer's actions satisfactory with the police department?
So I can't comment on that right now. When you do an administrative investigation, you take a look at the information that you know as a result of whatever incident it is you're looking at it. And then if you feel that there are issues that need to be addressed, you do just the administrative investigation. And right now we are gathering facts. We're talking to other officers, other people at the scene, and we'll make a determination on that as we conclude the investigation and then move forward at that point.
If it's okay with everyone, we'll open up for a couple of respectful comments just for you all to share how the event made you feel, and what you all would like to see from the university. Even if you don't have a question, please, like I said earlier, remain respectful or we'll have to end the questions, the comment portion of the evening. Great, thank you so much.
Don't worry, I'm grabbing it for you.
From what I gathered, there were 3 incidents that night.
The mic's not on yet. That's okay.
How does it work? From what I gathered, there were 3 incidents that night: the shooting, the overdose, and the student who had the panic attack. Even though the EMTs were already on scene and ready to go, they had to wait for police officers to escort them to the patients for their safety, and that is understandable. What isn't understandable is why the Baltimore County Police Department took so long to send over officers. The incident commander also seemed to be having trouble communicating with them to get the proper resources they needed. What will you do better to have a better communication with the TUBD and the Baltimore County Police Department and the Baltimore County Fire Department?
So again, that's a good question. I can't comment on what the county's operational procedures are. I can tell you that at that scene, under the MOU, the Baltimore County Police and Fire Department assumed incident command of the incident. We were there in a supporting role, and I was for most of the evening in personal contact with her, and my other commanders that responded to the scene were in contact and assisting their counterparts. So again, I'm not going to comment about the county's operational procedures. The communications between the Towson University Office of Public Safety and the Baltimore County Police and Fire Department were excellent. In fact, we opened the building up to get them in to enhance that a little bit. Does that answer your question? All right.
How do you plan to address the people who would feel more unsafe with an increase of officers on campus?
So we obviously put in a temporary plan to increase our visible presence with visible officers for the days immediately following the event. It was not sustainable. We are currently actively working to hire additional officers for our vacancies. And we will continue our practice of high visibility uniform patrols and directing our officers to be visible out on campus, especially during the hours that students are active on campus and the routes that they take, both on foot and in vehicular traffic when they're coming and going from campus.
Thank you. And I say this with all due respect, but how does that address the people who feel more unsafe with more officers around?
I'm sorry. Again, I'm having just a little.
Of course, no. How do you address the people who feel more unsafe with more officers around?
So I would encourage those folks that do feel unsafe with police officers around to reach out to me so that we can have a frank conversation. And I'm always open to new ideas. I'm always open to different concepts that make people feel comfortable. Dr. Hurt alluded to the revised outdoor event policy, and I was a big advocate of pulling back the police presence and role in those events. And I still am. Our goal is to make the campus safe, to keep people safe, and a big part of that is that people feel safe.
And just briefly to add to that, because Chief Herring kind of alluded to that, and to your question, when we think about the safety of campus, I think it's important that we recognize that TUPD is one element of that. And so, you know, we don't want to communicate that the answer to improving safety on campus is just to increase campus police. That's one aspect of it. Conversations like this is really important to hear from the community, to hear from students in terms of your ideas. So that as we think about the next steps forward, it's not just about the police, but it's really thinking about what are other ways, what are other needs of the campus community that will help to enhance the sense of safety on campus.
Hello. If I can kind of echo what you were alluding to a little bit, and tell me if I'm not communicating your concern properly. But we're all aware of the complex relationship between people of color and police on a national level. So how is TUPD different in that discussion?
Well, I would point to our record and what we do and how we police here at campus. I think we have a far different policing model that we follow here than even our close allies, the Baltimore County Police follow, or the Maryland State Police or the Baltimore Police Department. We are very community oriented in what we do. Our focus on events, on safety, is to provide information to the group, to the community, to be visible, to deter those who would come on the campus for the purpose of committing crimes, and to be responsive at a service level, not necessarily typical policing type services, but at a service level to help our community reach resources that'll support them, whether it be the counseling center, student services, those types of things. So we take a different approach to how we resolve issues when they're presented to us, or even when crimes are reported to us, and the follow-up that we do with our crime victims.
Thank you. So in the past, SGA's proposed bills to defund TUPD. That's been happening at colleges around the country recently. And then on top of that, a WJZ article says that the FOP, 82, has reportedly been pressuring the administration to give more resources and fill vacancies in TUPD for months now. In your opinion, is TUPD properly resourced and staffed to keep our campus safe?
So my answer to that question is a resounding yes. I've had nothing but support from the senior administration here since I began leading the department as the chief. I was here prior as the deputy chief, which is a more operational type position. I believe our funding is adequate in this period of fiscal concern with regards to the impact of COVID. We continue to have our vacancies approved to be filled. We're working to fill them. We get the resources that we need. So the answer to your question is yes, and I don't agree with the statement that FOP Lodge 82 raised. I meet regularly with the FOP, and we do discuss those type of things. I discuss it with the FOP leadership, and we work very well together, collaboratively to solve the problems. My answer is yes.
Hello, everyone. I do want to speak a little bit to the defunding of TUPD that was brought up earlier, just so there's no confusion about that whatsoever. The Student Government Association here at Towson is constitutionally obligated as a branch of shared governance here to raise concerns on behalf of students. That's students individually as well as student organizations. So this past year, under the 100th administration of the SGA, there was a bill that came forward on behalf of Freedom School, which is a student organization here, to defund the police here at Towson. That is not the stance of the SGA because the Student Senate failed that bill in the Senate. So I just want to clarify that for anyone who's unclear about our stance on that. Okay, thank you so much.
I would actually like to know why that bill failed.
Thank you so much. So you all every spring elect your student senators, as well as you have opportunities throughout the year to apply to be a senator. We would love for any of you to apply to be senators as well as your friends. So as you all elected representatives, the Senate votes on your behalf. So this is a great opportunity to plug that to each of you. If you would like to voice your concerns in the Student Senate, applications are open right now. Does that answer your question? No.
I just wanted to get more of the reasoning behind not passing it.
Oh, gotcha. So the General Assembly meetings are live streamed. I believe it's still archived at this moment. Yes. So if you want to go back and watch that discussion, you absolutely can. And I'd love to talk more with you about it. But the Student Senate, the previous administration, not this current administration, failed that bill last fall. Thank you so much.
Has the Towson University student and family and staff response to TUPD and TU admin made you guys feel like the actions you have taken are satisfactory to the community, or that the actions you've taken have been enough?
So I can tell you that the Office of Public Safety does a loop back on every event that we have on campus, and we take a critical look at what we've done, how we've done it, what do we do well, what do we do not so well, what areas can we improve on, and this incident is not going to be handled any differently. Part of that process involves feedback from the community. I read each and every one of those comments that come in, each one of those questions that come in from a parent or a student, and we have a frank discussion, and we change the things that we need to change. Our goal is to put quality public safety services out for the community and to keep them safe. And the only way we do that is by constantly reevaluating what we do. As far as the other parts of the department or other parts of the university, I'll turn it over to Dr. Hurt, but I would think that it's probably something very similar.
Thanks, Chief. Yes, I'll echo that. We've heard from the community members, parents, current students, and all that feedback is critical. And the reality is we had a tragic incident on our campus this past weekend. And to move forward as business as usual is not the appropriate response. And so, we want to learn from this incident. We want to improve our campus. We want to improve the sense of safety that the community members have. And so we're going to utilize that feedback. We're going to utilize the information that comes from the various investigations that are happening in order to improve the way forward.
Will there be any future events to improve relations between TUPD officers and students, such as meet and greets, speaking to student organizations, and/or education campaigns?
So we typically do hold 1 or 2 events a year. I want to take a second to introduce 2 people that are in the audience. Major Larry Bell, who is the commander responsible for our patrol division, and Captain Woodrow Myers, who is the commander responsible for our community outreach team. Captain Myers' team interacts with frequently with the Student Government Administration and other student organizations to develop programming where we can invite students to events and we can have officers there to interact, talk, exchange ideas, that type of thing. So the answer to that question is yes. I can't give you any details to that yet because we're just starting the semester, but those will occur throughout the year.
I will add that the SGA is really excited to have another community dialogue about some new technology TUPD is instituting here at the university, including body cameras and things of that nature. So look out for information about that, more to come on that. Thank you so much for that question.
Hi, everyone. I just had a question. Has there been any updates on the victims and how they're doing, and if you guys are like providing any extra support to them at all?
I'm sorry, I didn't get any of that.
Darn, is it me? Am I? I'm putting on my big girl voice. Have there been any like updates as far as how the victims are doing and their family? Well, the victims are doing and their families and everything. And are you guys like providing any extra support to them at all?
Sure. So I can share for one of the victims, which one of the victims is a member of the TU community, one of our students. So my office has been engaged with supporting the student. President Schatzler and I visited our student the incident to ensure that they were doing well, that they were getting appropriate care. I have been in contact with the student's family daily since the incident. We've been supporting everything from communication with and referrals to appropriate supports in the community. Dean Skavakis and his team has been working with the students' faculty as we would with any type of emergency situation to make sure the appropriate flexibility and support is there. And so we'll continue to provide that support and have that connection to our students.
And feel free to talk about some of the student support services, Dr. Skavakis, if you are so inclined. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we actually have here Dr. Molly Herman from our counseling center. And so there's several different support services that we provide. One of the primary roles within student affairs is to support students. And that happens in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's to come in and vent, meet with one of me and one of my team. It's also to go over to the counseling center to have an opportunity to speak with someone to be able to work more therapeutically in a private setting. So we like to be able to offer that. I also work a lot with parents. So sometimes there's questions and conversations and things that you want to have with them. And how do I talk about this or how do I express that? I've been on the phone with since Sunday with parents, having those conversations. You can also stop by our health center. We've had some students come in and experience some anxiety and want to go through the vitals and take my blood pressure and make sure that I feel like I'm okay. And then they'll walk upstairs and talk with some over at the counseling center.
So we're nearing the end of our time together today. Thank you all so much for attending. If you all have any further questions, feel free to refer them to Towson SGA via our social media or SGA at towson.edu, excuse me. So that's SGA at towson.edu. If you have any other questions that you did not raise tonight, we would love to hear them so we can refer them to some of the panelists or whoever the appropriate campus partner is to answer that question for you. Thank you so much again and be safe. We really appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you so much. And if you could give a round of applause for our panelists, thank you so much.
Actually, thank you to SGA for your leadership.